In the year 2035, the United States was a nation divided like never before. The country had been through years of political battles, economic struggles, and social unrest. People were tired, but they couldn't look away from the drama unfolding. In Washington, D.C., it was impossible to ignore because every new headline seemed more shocking than the last. At the center of it all was Donald Trump, who had returned to the spotlight after years out of office. His name still carried weight. Some loved him, some hated him, but no one could deny that he knew how to command attention. This time his target was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, known as AOC to her supporters. She was one of the most talked about politicians in America, a young woman with bold ideas and an even bolder way of speaking her mind. AOC represented everything Trump disliked about modern politics: progressive policies, calls for equality, and a refusal to back down when challenged. Their clashes weren't new. They'd been trading insults and accusations for years. But this latest confrontation felt different. It wasn't just another argument on Twitter or cable news. This time it felt personal. It all started during a press conference held in New York City. AOC stood behind a podium, surrounded by cameras, and reporters eager to hear what she had to say. Her voice rang out clear and confident as she accused Trump of corruption. According to her, he had used his influence to enrich himself and his allies while ignoring the needs of ordinary Americans. "He doesn't care about you," she told the crowd. "All he cares about is power." The room erupted in murmurs and flashes from cameras. Some people cheered, while others groaned in disagreement. AOC didn't flinch. She continued speaking, listing examples of what she called unethical behavior. When she finished, the reporters bombarded her with questions. Was she afraid of retaliation? Did she think Trump would sue her for making such claims? AOC smiled calmly and said, "Let him try. I'm not going anywhere." Her words made headlines within minutes. By evening, Trump had responded in his usual style, a fiery statement posted online. In capital letters, he declared that AOC was spreading lies and needed to be stopped. Then came the part that shocked everyone. "If she keeps attacking me, I will have no choice but to put her behind bars." Just like that, the battle between them escalated into something far bigger than either of them could have imagined. Across the country, people reacted strongly to Trump's threat. Supporters praised him for standing up to someone they saw as dangerous. Opponents accused him of overstepping boundaries and using fear tactics to silence critics. Social media exploded with memes, hashtags, and heated debates. Late-night talk show hosts joked about it, while serious news programs debated whether Trump actually had the authority to do what he promised. Caught in the middle of all this chaos were two ordinary Americans, Liam Carter and Rachel Monroe. They lived hundreds of miles apart but shared similar feelings about the state of the nation. Both felt frustrated and powerless, unsure of where they fit in amidst the noise. Yet neither realized how much their lives were about to change because of the feud between Trump and AOC. Liam worked as a journalist in Cleveland, Ohio. He was in his late 30s, with scruffy brown hair and glasses that always seemed slightly crooked. Journalism had once been his dream job, but lately, it felt more like a grind. Every day brought another scandal, another outrageous tweet, another story designed to provoke rather than inform. Sometimes Liam wondered if anyone cared about real issues anymore. Still, he tried to stay focused on doing good work, even if it meant long hours and low pay. When he heard about Trump's threat against AOC, Liam's instincts kicked in. Something about it didn't sit right with him. Sure, politicians often exchanged harsh words, but threatening jail time felt extreme, even for Trump. Liam decided to dig deeper. He started reviewing old interviews, searching for patterns or clues that might explain why Trump singled out AOC now. As he worked, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than met the eye. Meanwhile, Rachel Monroe was busy organizing a community event in Los Angeles. She was in her early 40s, with curly black hair and a warm smile that put people at ease. Rachel had spent years working with nonprofits, helping underprivileged families access resources and opportunities. Politics wasn't her main focus, but she couldn't ignore how government decisions affected the people she served. When she saw Trump's post about jailing AOC, she felt a surge of anger. It wasn't just the words themselves, it was the message behind them. To Rachel, it felt like an attack on anyone who dared to challenge the status quo. That night, Rachel stayed up late scrolling through articles and commentary online. She read opinions from both sides, trying to understand why this particular conflict resonated so deeply with people. Eventually, she stumbled upon a Facebook group dedicated to supporting AOC. Members were sharing stories about how her policies had inspired them to get involved in activism. Rachel hesitated for a moment, then joined the group. She figured it wouldn't hurt to learn more. Over the next few days, the tension between Trump and AOC continued to dominate the news cycle. Each side dug in harder, refusing to back down. Trump gave fiery speeches at rallies, painting AOC as a radical bent on destroying America. AOC countered by emphasizing the importance of holding leaders accountable, no matter how powerful they might be. Supporters of both figures took to the streets, waving signs and chanting slogans. It was hard to tell where politics ended and entertainment began. For Liam, the situation became increasingly intriguing. He noticed subtle connections between Trump's rhetoric and certain media outlets that amplified his message. Some of these outlets had histories of promoting conspiracy theories or misinformation. Liam wondered if there was coordination happening behind the scenes. If so, who was pulling the strings? And what did they hope to achieve by targeting AOC? Rachel, on the other hand, found herself drawn into organizing efforts. The Facebook group she joined quickly grew, attracting members from across the country. Together, they brainstormed ways to support AOC and push back against Trump's threats. Rachel suggested hosting virtual town halls where people could share their concerns and ideas. Others agreed, and soon plans were underway. Despite their different approaches, Liam and Rachel shared a common goal: uncovering the truth and fighting for justice. Neither knew it yet, but their paths were destined to cross as events unfolded. For now, they remained focused on their respective missions, unaware of how deeply they would become entangled in the drama surrounding Trump and AOC. As the days passed, the stakes grew higher. Trump doubled down on his stance, vowing to take legal action if necessary. AOC, for her part, remained defiant. She dismissed Trump's threats as empty posturing, though some close to her worried about the toll it might take on her mental health. Supporters rallied around her, flooding social media with messages of encouragement. Critics seized on any perceived weakness, accusing her of being unfit for leadership. Through it all, Liam kept digging. He reached out to sources, reviewed documents, and pieced together fragments of information. Slowly but surely, a picture began to emerge, one that suggested Trump's campaign against AOC wasn't just about silencing a political opponent. It was part of a larger strategy aimed at controlling the narrative and maintaining power. Mbai knew he had to publish his findings, but doing so came with risks. Rachel threw herself into activism, coordinating events and connecting with like-minded individuals. She discovered a passion for grassroots organizing, realizing how much impact small actions could have when multiplied across communities. Though she occasionally doubted her abilities, the support she received from others kept her motivated. Together, they hoped to create meaningful change, not just for AOC but for everyone affected by divisive politics. By the end of the week, the nation was buzzing with anticipation. What would happen next? Would Trump follow through on his threat? Could AOC withstand the pressure? And what role would ordinary citizens like Liam and Rachel play in shaping the outcome? No one knew for sure, but one thing was certain. The world was watching, waiting to see how this chapter of American history would unfold. The tension between Donald Trump and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez continued to escalate, drawing the entire country deeper into the drama. Every new development seemed more explosive than the last, leaving people glued to their screens and debating endlessly. The feud had moved beyond politics. It was now a spectacle, a battle of wills that felt like it could determine the future of America. A few days after Trump's threat to jail AOC went viral, she appeared at a televised town hall meeting. The event was highly anticipated, with millions tuning in to see how she would respond. Supporters hoped she would stand strong, while critics waited for any sign of weakness they could exploit. Cameras flashed as AOC walked onto the stage, her signature red lipstick contrasting sharply with the dark backdrop behind her. She smiled briefly before taking her seat, but something about her demeanor seemed different. Less confident, more guarded. The moderator wasted no time diving into the controversy. "Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez," he began, leaning forward slightly. "President Trump has accused you of spreading lies and even threatened legal action against you. How do you respond?" AOC hesitated for a moment, her hands resting on the table in front of her. When she finally spoke, her voice lacked its usual conviction. "I believe strongly in accountability," she said carefully. "But what we're seeing here isn't about policy or ideas. It's an attempt to silence dissenting voices." Her answer sounded rehearsed, almost offensive, which only fueled the moderator's line of questioning. He pressed harder, asking if she feared for her safety given Trump's threats. Was she prepared to face potential legal consequences? Did she regret speaking out so forcefully? With each question, AOC grew visibly uneasy. Her shoulders tensed and her gaze shifted frequently between the audience and the cameras. At one point, she paused mid-sentence, seemingly overwhelmed by emotion. For a brief moment, her composure cracked entirely. "It's hard," she admitted softly, her voice trembling. "You try to do the right thing, to speak up for people who don't have a voice, and then—" She trailed off, blinking back tears. The room fell silent except for the faint hum of camera shutters clicking. No one had expected this kind of vulnerability from AOC, whose fiery speeches and unshakable confidence had become her trademarks. Critics pounced immediately, labeling her display as evidence of weakness. Social media erupted with commentary, much of it harsh and unforgiving. Memes mocking her breakdown spread rapidly, while some commentators questioned whether she was fit for public office. For Liam Carter, watching the town hall from his small apartment in Cleveland, the moment was both heartbreaking and intriguing. He had always admired AOC's courage, but seeing her falter like this made him wonder what pressures she might be facing behind closed doors. More importantly, it deepened his resolve to uncover the truth behind Trump's campaign against her. There had to be more to the story than met the eye. Liam spent the next several days poring over documents and reaching out to sources. He called former colleagues, scoured online archives, and followed leads wherever they took him. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. Certain media outlets consistently amplified Trump's accusations against AOC, often using language designed to provoke outrage. These same outlets also downplayed or ignored stories that painted Trump in a negative light. It wasn't just coincidence, it was strategy. One source, a former staffer for a Republican senator, agreed to meet Liam for coffee under the condition of anonymity. Over steaming cups of espresso, the man revealed details about coordinated efforts within Trump's inner circle to discredit opponents. According to him, AOC wasn't the first target. She was simply the latest in a long line of figures deemed too influential to ignore. Tactics included everything from smear campaigns to legal intimidation, all aimed at destabilizing those who challenged Trump's agenda. Liam listened intently, jotting down notes in shorthand. If what this source said was true, and Liam had no reason to doubt him, it painted a chilling picture of power being wielded recklessly. Determined to expose the truth, Liam decided to write a series of investigative articles detailing his findings. But he knew publishing such explosive content came with risks. Journalists who crossed powerful people often faced backlash, sometimes even threats to their safety. Still, Liam couldn't sit idly by while misinformation spread unchecked. Meanwhile, Rachel Monroe was doing everything she could to support AOC and counteract the negativity swirling around her. After the town hall debacle, Rachel organized a virtual rally aimed at uplifting AOC and reminding people why her work mattered. Using social media platforms, she invited activists, community leaders, and everyday citizens to share their thoughts about AOC's impact on their lives. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of videos poured in featuring heartfelt testimonials from teachers, students, veterans, and immigrants, all expressing gratitude for AOC's advocacy. Rachel compiled these clips into a powerful montage, set to music. She titled it "Why We Stand with AOC" and uploaded it to YouTube. Within hours, the video racked up thousands of views, sparking conversations across the internet. Some viewers praised Rachel's effort, calling it a beacon of hope during turbulent times. Others dismissed it as propaganda, accusing Rachel of bias. Regardless, the message resonated deeply with many who felt disheartened by recent events. Encouraged by the positive feedback, Rachel expanded her efforts. She partnered with local organizations to host workshops on civic engagement, teaching people how to register voters, contact elected officials, and participate in peaceful protests. Attendance soared as word spread, proving that grassroots movements still held immense power despite the noise of modern politics. As Liam and Rachel worked independently toward shared goals, their paths began to converge without them realizing it. One evening, while scrolling through Twitter, Liam stumbled upon Rachel's video. Intrigued by its raw authenticity, he reached out to her via direct message. "Hi, Rachel," he wrote. "I'm a journalist working on a story related to AOC and Trump. Your video caught my attention. Would love to chat sometime." Rachel hesitated before responding. She rarely interacted with strangers online, especially journalists. But something about Liam's tone struck her as genuine. After exchanging a few messages, they arranged a phone call to discuss their respective projects. During their conversation, they discovered surprising overlaps in their research and activism. They agreed to collaborate, combining Liam's investigative skills with Rachel's ability to mobilize communities. Their partnership marked a turning point, not just for them personally, but for the broader movement supporting AOC. Together, they crafted a plan to shine a spotlight on the tactics used to undermine progressive voices. Liam focused on writing detailed reports exposing corruption and manipulation, while Rachel coordinated nationwide demonstrations timed to coincide with major political events. Their combined efforts created a groundswell of momentum, inspiring others to join the fight for transparency and justice. Despite their progress, challenges remained. Trump doubled down on his attacks, dismissing criticisms as baseless attempts to sabotage his leadership. His supporters rallied around him, echoing his claims and amplifies his rhetoric. Meanwhile, AOC struggled to regain her footing after the town hall incident. Though she continued making appearances and advocating for her policies, the shadow of doubt cast over her lingered, affecting her confidence and public perception. Still, there were glimmers of hope. Grassroots organizers like Rachel reminded everyone that change started from the bottom up, not the top down, and journalists like Liam proved that truth still mattered, even in an age of misinformation. As the nation braced itself for whatever came next, ordinary citizens found solace in knowing they weren't alone. Whether through words or actions, they were fighting back, together. By the end of the month, the situation showed no signs of calming down. Trump remained steadfast in his stance while AOC worked tirelessly to rebuild trust and resilience. Liam and Rachel's collaboration gained traction, drawing attention from national outlets and policymakers alike. People across the country watched closely, aware that the outcome of this conflict would shape the future of American democracy. Whatever happened next, one thing was clear: the stakes had never been higher. The pressure on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was mounting, but she wasn't ready to give up. After the difficult town hall meeting where her emotional moment went viral, AOC decided it was time to take control of the narrative. She couldn't let Trump's threats or the criticism from his supporters define her. With the help of Rachel Monroe and grassroots organizers across the country, she began planning a bold move, a nationwide tour aimed at reconnecting with the people who mattered, oust her constituents. Rachel played a key role in organizing the tour. She worked tirelessly, coordinating logistics, booking venues, and ensuring that local activists were involved every step of the way. The goal was simple but powerful: to remind everyone why AOC had entered politics in the first place. Each stop on the tour would focus on listening to the concerns of ordinary Americans, sharing their stories, and offering solutions rooted in compassion and justice. It wasn't just about winning back critics. It was about rebuilding trust and proving that leadership meant standing with the people, not above them. Liam Carter, meanwhile, was deep into his investigation. His series of articles exposing the tactics used against AOC was gaining traction. He published the first piece under the headline, "Behind the Threats: How Power Players Target Dissenters." The article detailed how certain media outlets and political operatives worked together to amplify divisive rhetoric, often targeting progressive figures like AOC. Liam included quotes from anonymous sources, internal emails, and data showing spikes in misinformation campaigns during critical moments of conflict. The response was immediate and intense. Some readers praised Liam for his bravery, calling him a champion of truth in a chaotic world. Others accused him of bias, claiming his work was nothing more than propaganda designed to sway public opinion. Despite the backlash, Liam pressed on, determined to reveal the full scope of what he had uncovered. He knew the stakes were high, not just for AOC, but for democracy itself. If powerful individuals could silence dissent without consequence, what hope was there for accountability? As AOC's tour kicked off, she visited cities and towns across America, from bustling urban centers to quiet rural communities. At each stop, she listened intently as people shared their struggles: rising healthcare costs, stagnant wages, crumbling schools, and fears about climate change. AOC didn't shy away from tough questions or criticisms. Instead, she embraced them, using these moments to explain her policies and vision for the future. Her authenticity resonated deeply with many attendees, reigniting their belief in her mission. One particularly memorable event took place in Flint, Michigan, a city still grappling with the aftermath of its water crisis. A young mother named Lisa stood up during the Q&A session, tears streaming down her face. "My kids are sick because we can't drink our water," she said, her voice shaking. "And no one seems to care. Do you think you can really make a difference?" AOC paused, letting the weight of Lisa's words sink in. Then she responded with quiet determination. "I'm here today because I believe we can make a difference, but not alone. Together, we have the power to demand better, to fight for clean water, affordable healthcare, and safe schools. But it starts with us refusing to stay silent." The crowd erupted in applause, moved by her sincerity. Scenes like this played out repeatedly throughout the tour, reinforcing AOC's reputation as someone willing to listen and act. Social media buzzed with clips from the events, showcasing heartfelt interactions and renewed optimism among participants. Critics tried to dismiss the tour as mere theatrics, but even they couldn't deny its impact. Back in Cleveland, Liam continued digging deeper into his story. His second article focused on the legal threats Trump had made against AOC. Through interviews with constitutional law experts, Liam explained why such threats were problematic. While presidents held significant authority, they couldn't arbitrarily imprison political opponents without violating fundamental principles of justice. Moreover, the suggestion of doing so risked eroding public faith in democratic institutions. Liam's reporting caught the attention of major news networks, leading to invitations for televised interviews. During one appearance, he calmly laid out his findings, emphasizing the importance of holding leaders accountable. "This isn't about partisan politics," he told the host. "It's about protecting the rights of all citizens to speak freely and advocate for change. When those rights are threatened, we need to sound the alarm." Rachel, too, found herself thrust into the spotlight. As one of the key organizers behind AOC's tour, she became a symbol of grassroots activism. Reporters followed her around, eager to learn more about her strategies and motivations. Despite the sudden fame, Rachel remained humble, deflecting praise onto the countless volunteers who made the tour possible. "This isn't about me," she insisted during an interview. "It's about the people who show up every day, ready to fight for a better future." The combined efforts of AOC, Liam, and Rachel began tipping the scales. Public opinion shifted as more people became aware of the coordinated attacks against progressive voices. Protests erupted in major cities demanding transparency and fairness. Activists chanted slogans like "Truth over Fear" and "Accountability Now," drawing parallels between AOC's situation and broader issues of corruption and inequality. Even, some moderate Republicans started distancing themselves from Trump's inflammatory rhetoric. They recognized the damage it caused to national unity and worried about alienating voters ahead of upcoming elections. Behind closed doors, discussions unfolded about finding common ground and addressing legitimate grievances without resorting to divisive tactics. Trump, however, refused to back down. He doubled down on his stance, declaring victory over AOC despite evidence to the contrary. In speeches and tweets, he claimed her emotional breakdown proved she lacked the strength to lead. Supporters cheered him on, convinced that his tough talk would resonate with voters. Yet cracks began forming within his base as well. Younger conservatives, disillusioned by constant conflict, questioned whether loyalty to one man outweighed the need for meaningful progress. Through it all, AOC remained steadfast. She acknowledged the challenges she faced but vowed to keep moving forward. Speaking at a rally in California, she addressed the nation directly. "They thought they could break me," she said, her voice steady and resolute. "But they underestimated us, all of us, because when you try to silence one voice, you awaken thousands more." Her words inspired millions, galvanizing support not just for her but for the movement she represented. People from all walks of life joined forces, united by a shared desire for change. Teachers marched alongside factory workers. Students stood, shoulder to shoulder with retirees. Together they formed a coalition unlike any seen before, driven by hope rather than fear. For Liam and Rachel, witnessing this transformation reaffirmed their belief in humanity's capacity for growth and redemption. Though challenges remained, they felt hopeful about the road ahead. By shining a light on injustice and empowering others to take action, they had helped spark something bigger than themselves, a movement rooted in courage, resilience, and the enduring pursuit of justice. As the tour wrapped up, AOC returned to Washington, D.C., stronger and more determined than ever. She carried with her the stories and hopes of countless Americans, reminders of why she fought so hard. The battle against Trump's threats wasn't over, but momentum was shifting. Across the country, people prepared for what came next. Elections, protests, and continued advocacy, all part of the ongoing struggle for equality and fairness. Whatever happened in the days and weeks to come, one thing was clear. The nation stood at a crossroads. And thanks to the tireless efforts of individuals like AOC, Liam, and Rachel, the path toward progress seemed brighter than before. The momentum sparked by AOC's nationwide tour and Liam's investigative articles continued to grow, reshaping the political landscape in ways no one had anticipated. As Election Day approached, the nation braced itself for what promised to be one of the most consequential votes in modern history. The clash between Donald Trump's aggressive rhetoric and AOC's grassroots resurgence had transformed the race into more than just a battle of ideologies. It was now a referendum on accountability, justice, and the future of democracy itself. Liam Carter's reporting had reached new heights, earning him both praise and threats. His third article, titled "The Blueprint of Intimidation," revealed how certain political operatives used smear campaigns and misinformation to silence critics. He included leaked emails showing coordinated efforts to discredit AOC and other progressive leaders. While some dismissed his work as partisan, many respected journalists acknowledged its importance, calling it a wake-up call about the dangers of unchecked power. The impact of Liam's articles rippled far beyond Cleveland. Grassroots activists across the country used his findings to fuel their campaigns, sharing his reports at town halls and organizing events around his exposés. Even mainstream news outlets began citing his work, amplifying his message to millions. But with this newfound recognition came danger. One night, as Liam walked home from his office, he noticed a car following him slowly. The driver stared at him through tinted windows before speeding off. Though nothing happened that evening, the incident left Liam shaken. Still, he refused to back down. If anything, it only strengthened his resolve to keep digging deeper. Rachel Monroe, meanwhile, was busier than ever. Her role as an organizer had expanded beyond local events. She was now coordinating efforts on a national scale. Thanks to her leadership, Thousands of volunteers mobilized to register voters, knock on doors, and spread awareness about the upcoming elections. Rachel knew that turnout would be critical, especially among younger voters who often felt disillusioned by politics. She worked tirelessly to inspire them, reminding them that their voices mattered and that change was possible if they showed up. One of Rachel's biggest challenges was countering voter suppression tactics. Reports surfaced of polling places being closed in predominantly minority neighborhoods, strict ID laws causing confusion, and misleading information spreading online. Rachel partnered with legal teams and advocacy groups to combat these issues, setting up hotlines for people to report problems and providing resources to help voters navigate obstacles. Her dedication earned her admiration from allies and grudging respect from opponents. As the election drew closer, tensions escalated. Trump continued to dominate headlines with fiery speeches and bold claims. He mocked AOC's tour as a desperate attempt to salvage her career and accused her supporters of being radicals, intent on destroying America. At rallies, he urged his base to turn out in record numbers, warning them that failure to do so would lead to chaos. His words resonated with loyalists, but cracks within his coalition widened as moderate Republicans grew uneasy about associating with such divisive rhetoric. AOC, on the other hand, focused on unity. She avoided personal attacks, instead emphasizing the need for collaboration and compassion. In interviews and debates, she highlighted practical solutions to pressing issues like healthcare, education, and climate change. Her calm demeanor and unwavering optimism stood in stark contrast to Trump's bombastic style, appealing to undecided voters weary of constant conflict. Behind the scenes, AOC leaned heavily on Rachel and her team for support. They strategized, together, analyzing data and adjusting plans based on feedback from communities across the country. AOC also relied on Liam's reports to counter misinformation and expose attempts to undermine her campaign. Together, they formed a formidable alliance, one grounded in truth, transparency, and trust. On the eve of Election Day, emotions ran high. Supporters gathered in parks, gyms, and community centers, holding candlelight vigils and prayer meetings. Volunteers worked late into the night, making final phone calls and preparing materials for polling stations. Despite exhaustion, there was a palpable sense of hope, a belief that years of struggle might finally pay off. When Election Day arrived, lines stretched for blocks outside voting locations. People waited patiently, undeterred by long hours or inclement weather. For many, it wasn't just about choosing candidates. It was about reclaiming agency and proving that collective action could overcome division. Social media buzzed with photos of families voting together, first-time voters proudly displaying "I voted" stickers, and elderly citizens casting ballots despite physical limitations. As results trickled in, the nation held its breath. Early returns showed mixed outcomes, with Trump maintaining strongholds in rural areas, while AOC and her allies gained ground in urban and suburban districts. Swing states remained too close to call, prolonging the suspense. Analysts debated, endlessly speculating about which side would ultimately prevail. Finally, after days of counting and recounting, the picture became clear. While Trump retained significant support among his core base, AOC and her coalition secured crucial victories elsewhere, tipping the balance toward progressivism. Democrats regained control of key legislative bodies, giving them greater influence over policy decisions. Progressive candidates won seats in historically conservative regions, signaling a shift in voter priorities. The reaction was immediate and intense. Supporters celebrated in the streets, waving flags and chanting slogans. Critics decried the results as evidence of America's decline, vowing to fight back in future elections. Amidst the noise, AOC addressed the nation in a televised speech. Standing behind a simple podium, she thanked everyone who had contributed to the victory, not just voters, but organizers, journalists, and everyday citizens who refused to give up. "This isn't my win," she said, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "It belongs to all of us, to the teachers, nurses, factory workers, and students who stood up and said enough is enough, to the activists who marched in rain and snow, demanding justice. And to the dreamers who reminded us why we started this journey in the first place. She went on to acknowledge the challenges ahead, promising to work across party lines whenever possible. "We didn't come this far to settle scores or build walls," she declared. "We came here to heal divisions, solve problems, and create opportunities for everyone, not just a privileged few." Liam watched the speech from his apartment, feeling a mix of pride and relief. His articles had played a small part in shaping the outcome, helping expose truths that might otherwise have remained hidden. He realized that journalism still mattered, that even in an age of misinformation, facts could cut through the noise and inspire action. As he reflected on everything he'd been through, he felt grateful for the courage to keep going no matter the risks. Rachel, too, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Watching communities unite and fight for change reaffirmed her faith in humanity's ability to rise above adversity. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she believed in the power of collective effort. Whether registering voters, organizing protests, or simply listening to someone's story, every action counted. Together, they had proven that ordinary people could achieve extraordinary things. In the weeks that followed, the nation began the difficult process of healing. Politicians on both sides acknowledged the need for dialogue and compromise. Calls for reform echoed in Congress, driven by newly elected representatives determined to address systemic inequities. Progress was slow, but tangible signs of improvement emerged. Expanded healthcare access, increased funding for public schools, and renewed commitments to environmental protection. For Liam and Rachel, the experience changed their lives forever. They remained close friends, continuing to collaborate on projects aimed at promoting transparency and fairness. Their partnership served as a reminder that meaningful change required diverse perspectives and shared determination. Though the fight was far from over, they took solace in knowing they weren't alone. Across the country, millions of others were working toward the same goal: a better, brighter future for everyone. As the dust settled, one truth stood undeniable. The battle between Trump and AOC had ignited something profound. It forced Americans to confront uncomfortable realities about power, privilege, and responsibility. And while the scars of division lingered, so did the promise of redemption, a testament to resilience, courage, and the enduring pursuit of justice. The aftermath of the election brought a mix of celebration and reflection. The nation had spoken, and while no single result could erase years of division, it marked the beginning of a new chapter, one defined by hope, accountability, and the promise of change. For Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Liam Carter, Rachel Monroe, and countless others who had fought tirelessly, the victory was not just political. It was deeply personal. AOC returned to Washington, D.C. with renewed purpose. Her campaign had shown that grassroots movements could challenge even the most entrenched power structures, but she knew the real work lay ahead. Winning an election was one thing. Governing effectively was another. She faced immense pressure to deliver on her promises: healthcare reform, climate action, and economic justice. But she also understood that meaningful change required patience and collaboration. Her first priority was building bridges. AOC reached out to moderate Republicans and centrist Democrats, seeking common ground on issues like infrastructure investment and criminal justice reform. While some dismissed her efforts as naive, others welcomed the opportunity to find solutions, rather than perpetuate conflict. In closed-door meetings, she listened intently to opposing viewpoints, earning respect from unlikely allies. Critics accused her of compromising too much, but AOC remained steadfast. "Progress isn't about perfection," she often said. "It's about moving forward, step by step." Liam Carter continued his investigative journalism, driven by the belief that transparency was essential for democracy. His articles had played a pivotal role in exposing corruption and manipulation, but he refused to rest on his laurels. Now he turned his attention to broader systemic issues: lobbying practices, campaign finance laws, and corporate influence in politics. Each story he wrote sparked debates and inspired calls for reform. Though threats against him persisted, Liam found strength in knowing his work mattered. He became a symbol of integrity in an era dominated by sensationalism. Rachel Monroe, too, evolved in her role as an organizer. With the elections over, she shifted her focus to long-term community empowerment. She launched initiatives aimed at educating people about their rights and responsibilities as citizens, from understanding tax policies to advocating for environmental protections. Her workshops attracted diverse audiences, from high school students to retirees, all eager to learn how they could make a difference. Rachel also partnered with local leaders to address pressing needs such as affordable housing and access to health care. Her mantra was simple yet powerful. Change starts at home. As the months passed, the nation began to heal, albeit slowly. Division still existed, but conversations replaced confrontations. Town halls buzzed with constructive dialogue instead of angry shouting matches. Social media platforms, once rife with vitriol, saw more posts promoting unity and understanding. People realized that despite their differences, they shared fundamental values, a desire for safety, prosperity, and fairness. Donald Trump, meanwhile, retreated from the spotlight after conceding defeat. Supporters rallied around him, urging him to run again in future elections, but cracks within his coalition grew wider. Moderates distanced themselves, disillusioned by his divisive tactics. Younger conservatives, inspired by AOC's vision of progressivism rooted in compassion, began exploring alternative ideologies. Trump's influence waned, though he occasionally surfaced to criticize his opponents or rally his base. Yet, his words carried less weight than before, overshadowed by the growing momentum toward inclusivity and cooperation. For Liam and Rachel, the election marked a turning point in their lives. Their paths, once separate, had intertwined through shared struggles and victories. They remained close friends, collaborating on projects that combined journalism and activism. Together, they co-authored a book detailing their experiences during the tumultuous election cycle. Titled Voices of Change, it chronicled the stories of ordinary Americans who had risen above fear and apathy to demand better. The book resonated deeply with readers, becoming a bestseller and inspiring a new wave of civic engagement. Their partnership extended beyond writing. Liam and Rachel traveled across the country, speaking at schools, conferences, and community events. They encouraged people to stay informed, participate in democracy, and hold leaders accountable. Audiences responded enthusiastically, moved by their authenticity and passion. At one event, a young woman approached them after the talk, tears streaming down her face. "You've given me hope," she said. "I didn't think my voice mattered. Until now." Moments like these reminded Liam and Rachel why they did what they did, to empower others to believe in their ability to create change. Back in Congress, AOC worked tirelessly to honor the trust placed in her by voters. She introduced legislation addressing income inequality, championed renewable energy projects, and advocated for marginalized communities. Her fiery speeches and unyielding determination earned her both admiration and criticism, but she never lost sight of her mission. When setbacks occurred, and they inevitably did, she leaned on the support of colleagues, activists, and constituents. She often reminded herself of something Rachel had told her during the campaign. "We're stronger together than we are alone." One of AOC's proudest achievements came when bipartisan legislation aimed at combating climate change passed the House of Representatives. It wasn't perfect, far from it, but it represented progress. Environmental advocates hailed it as a crucial first step, while skeptics warned it would hurt industries reliant on fossil fuels. AOC acknowledged the concerns but emphasized the urgency of action. "We can't afford to wait for perfection," she said during a press conference. "Every day we delay is a day we lose to rising temperatures and extreme weather. This bill isn't the end, it's the beginning." The success of the climate bill bolstered AOC's reputation as a pragmatic idealist. Critics softened their tone, recognizing her willingness to compromise without abandoning her principles. Allies praised her ability to navigate complex negotiations while staying true to her vision. Slowly but surely, she became a unifying figure, not just for progressives but for anyone committed to solving problems collaboratively. Meanwhile, grassroots movements inspired by AOC's tour continued to thrive. Activists organized rallies, lobbied lawmakers, and raised awareness about critical issues. Voter registration drives expanded into underserved areas, ensuring that marginalized voices were heard. Education campaigns taught people how to engage with their representatives effectively, whether through phone calls, emails, or petitions. These efforts weren't glamorous, but they were vital. Proof that democracy depended on participation at every level. Liam and Rachel witnessed firsthand how their actions had sparked a ripple effect. Communities once divided found common cause in shared struggles. Teachers joined forces with parents to advocate for better schools. Factory workers teamed up with environmentalists to push for cleaner technologies. Students collaborated with elders to preserve cultural heritage. Unity didn't mean uniformity. It meant celebrating diversity while working toward shared goals. By the end of the year, the nation stood transformed, not completely healed, but undeniably changed. Challenges remained, from economic disparities to racial injustices. Yet there was a sense of optimism, a belief that progress was possible if people stayed committed to fighting for it. Leaders like AOC embodied this spirit, proving that courage and compassion could coexist. Journalists like Liam reminded everyone that truth still mattered, even in an age of misinformation. Organizers like Rachel demonstrated the power of collective action, showing that ordinary individuals could achieve extraordinary things. On New Year's Eve, Liam and Rachel gathered with friends and family to reflect on the past year. Fireworks lit up the sky as they toasted to resilience, gratitude, and hope. Liam raised his glass and spoke softly but firmly. "We've come so far," he said, "but our journey doesn't end here. There's still so much work to do." Rachel nodded, smiling warmly. "And we'll do it together," she added, "because that's how we win, not just in politics but in life." As the clock struck midnight, ushering in a new year, the crowd cheered. Across the nation, millions celebrated quietly or loudly, each in their own way. For the first time in years, there was a shared sense of possibility, a belief that tomorrow could be better than today. And though the road ahead would undoubtedly be challenging, no one doubted the strength of those willing to walk it side by side. In the end, the story of Trump, AOC, Liam, and Rachel wasn't just about politics or power. It was about humanity, the capacity to rise above fear, to embrace empathy, and to fight for a world where everyone belonged. It was proof that even in moments of darkness, light could shine through. And it was a reminder that history wasn't written by the powerful alone. It was shaped by the brave, the determined, and the hopeful.